Every Sunday night until the football season starts, I'm going to be doing a $500 fantasy football draft. Now, I would not recommend you do that. If you wanted to get in some practice drafts, if you wanted to have some fun, Underdog's constantly dropping like $3 tournaments. This one they dropped yesterday, and within like 24 hours, it's already had 53,000 people enter into it. I am in the big dog right now on another tab. I'm going to wait for that to fill. And as we wait for that to fill, I'm going to be getting in the largest fantasy football tournament on the planet. This is Best Ball Mania. The main reason I need to be doing Best Ball Mania drafts this year is that, I mean, not this year. Y'all know I'm already going to max out BBM with 150 of these teams this offseason. But I need to be doing them this weekend because Underdog had a special for every 2 Best Ball Mania drafts you did. You got $10 back added into your account up to $30. So I needed to make sure that we can draft at least 6 of these teams this weekend. And this will be our 5th. So we're going to do 2 Best Ball Mania drafts on this live stream. And then we are going to do that $500 draft. We are really just going to get into that $500 draft the second that it gets filled. And I'll keep y'all posted. I'm actually going to pull up my phone real quick just so I can track exactly how far that it is from filling. But thank you, everybody, for coming out to hang out with us in this live stream. And we got royalty himself, RS German, out here with us. But thank you. And I know everybody wants the $3 drafts. Like I said, I'm sorry. I have to take advantage of the Best Ball Mania offer. And yeah, you're not going to get immediately the $10 added in your account. Typically, when Underdog runs promos like this, you get the $10 added in whenever the promo has ended. So the promo ends tonight. So I'd imagine that I'm going to get the $30 added into my account. And if you did 2 Best Ball Mania drafts, you should get the $10 added into your account, I'm assuming tomorrow. But we will take Bijan Robinson. Lamb goes here off the board at 2. A lot of these players in round 1 now, you actually have to be worried about some injuries. Like in the case of Justin Jefferson here, who typically goes at the top of round 1. Obviously, now you have to keep in mind the hamstring injury that he's dealing with. That led Jefferson to fall down to pick 6 to us in our live draft last night. Here he goes at pick 5. And then also in round 1, now you possibly have to be just a little more hesitant on Puka Nacua given the Matthew Stafford back injury. Now, I'm not going to tell you to overreact to either one of these injuries. I know we are all scarred from seeing what happened with McCaffrey last year, where we spent all offseason getting blurbs, getting little hints that McCaffrey was going to have a very hard time. And then obviously, if you ignored them, if you drafted him consistently at the top of round 1, just like I did, those drafts got absolutely crushed. So I know everybody may want to overreact to like the Jefferson injury, the Matthew Stafford injury, the Joe Mixon injury, the Darnell Mooney. Like there are so many injuries that are on the radar at this moment. But I would just say like, oh, if you were a 50-50 coin flip between Bijan and Jefferson before, you probably use it as a tiebreaker to now go with Bijan. If you were a 50-50 coin flip of CMC versus Puka Nacua before, you probably use it as a tie break to go with CMC, but nothing like dramatically shaking up rankings here. And then we do have Jahmyr Gibbs falling down to pick 8 in this draft, which is absolutely insane. If I got Gibbs at 8, I would be over the moon. But Jacob says I'd be so happy with Jefferson at 5. Yeah, yesterday I got Jefferson at 6 with people a little nervous about the injury. So I did not want to say this, my friend. I was going to email you if you didn't make it to the live stream. Antler Ice, you were the only 10 that I graded in the Flock League submissions tonight. I begged everybody, all the creators, and you'll see it in the video, to have you as the winner. And sadly, you did not win to get in the Flock League. I'm super sorry. I said in the video, I told the other creators over and over again, and I'm sorry if I'm offending the other people submitting the clips right now, that you were my favorite and I wanted you in, but that didn't work out, my friend. But we will take Jonathan Taylor here at 22. And so we did pick a winner for the 12th spot in the Flock League. And the winner has already been emailed. He has already been messaged on Discord as well. Hopefully we hear from him soon. If he does not get back to us within a couple days, then we'll go down to the second place person. If he doesn't get back to us, we'll go down to the third place person. Not going to say who won just yet. Hopefully that video will be available to y'all on the Flock League YouTube channel sooner rather than later. But Bucky Irving off the board at 26. So when we go running back out the gate, our hand is forced 99% of the time to just go with a wide receiver in round 3. I'm going to get a little weird with it though. I have probably not started a single Best Ball Mania draft so far this offseason with 3 running backs straight. It's very difficult to do in a best ball tournament, just knowing that wide receivers are going to get pushed up and it's tougher to get wide receivers in the middle rounds. If you're in your regular redraft league, starting Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs would be super exciting. But here it's a lot scarier given the wide receiver values. And of course, just in case there's 1% of people watching this that don't know, the difference between best ball and your regular redraft league is there's no time commitment with these drafts during the season. So I draft hundreds of teams. Our top starting lineup is automatically going to be submitted for us at the end of every single week, while at the same time, there are no waiver wire moves. There are no trades. And that's what has allowed me to draft hundreds of teams a year. It's what allowed me to win $150K back in the day on Underdog when I was a small child. Obviously, I was not a child. Don't take that as children are on Underdog. You get the point. It was way back in the day. And obviously, if you want to draft with us, we're doing this on the live stream every single night. You can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the description, in the comment section, in the live chats. I always put it there. It's just draft with us here. And if you wanted to join one of those drafts, here is the map of where Underdog Fantasy is available. And last but not least, if you use promo code FLOCK, you'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. And you will get all my 2025 fantasy football draft guide cheat sheets. And just in case you haven't seen already, if you were a paid member of flockfantasy.com, I just posted over there on the sites we just posted the draft guide cheat sheets. So you can go ahead and there are 50 different draft guide cheat sheets for your specific league. Check the directory to see which page you should use for your draft. The rankings are adjusted based on your exact league settings, whether it's a PPR, at PPR standard, starting lineup, start 7 versus start 8. So like you'll see when you open these up that there are 50 sheets. You're not using all 50. You go through, you look at the directory, you go, okay, this is my platform. This is the amount of teams in my league. These are my scoring formats. This is my starting lineup requirements, because every sheet is different to help you adjust to your specific league. So please make sure you read the directory. If your exact league settings are not outlined there, which like I said, we'll have 50 different sheets, I have an explanation on the right-hand side of how you make further adjustments if you need to. So, perfect. And Sam actually, I'm not going to say anymore. We need a wide receiver for sure. We are going to take DJ Moore at 46. And we're going to need a wide receiver to come back around to us as well. So also with these draft guides that are on the site that I just posted, these 50 sheets, there's not a single one for Underdog. Underdog is very different. Best Ball is very different. All the draft sheets that we made for y'all are for your redraft leagues, whether you're playing on ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, NFL Fantasy. It's also not going to be something that you spend a ton of time studying. It's meant for you to literally just kind of print out and take to your fantasy football draft. Or if you draft on the computer, it'll be perfect for you to just copy and paste the sheet and edit it from there. Metcalf goes. I'm going to take Devonta Smith over Courtland Sutton personally. I mean, I do have Devonta Smith as a top 5 wide receiver already. I'm sorry, a top 5 player already in terms of dollars invested into. Like if you go to your Underdog exposures and sort by entry fees, like I'm all in on Devonta Smith. Maybe you make the argument, Mason, you need to go Courtland Sutton because Jalen Hurts is already off the board and you have to put yourself in a position where you can actually attack some of these quarterbacks later. And to be honest with you, I think that'd be a very valid argument. And maybe we should go with Courtland Sutton over Devonta Smith here. But frankly, I just really do like Smith. So, and I want to remind everybody, we are currently in the $500 big dog draft lobby. If anybody wanted to join that draft with us there, then we can, once that's filled, we're going to put that on the screen and we're going to end whatever draft that we're doing at the moment. I'll just do it off the screen. Charles says, isn't Sutton going to get like 50 more targets? Let me pull up the targets per game that we had for both these wide receivers last year. And keep in mind, last year was pretty much the worst potential run out you could have possibly had for Devonta Smith with how run heavy this offense was, where if the offense is any worse, if they decide to use Barkley any less, or if Barkley gets injured, there are a bunch of different ways that you can actually see the Eagles have to be more pass happy. So if we pull them up on the player comparison on flogfantasy.com, you'll see that Devonta Smith actually averaged more points per game last year than Courtland Sutton, 15.3, in comparison to Courtland Sutton at 14.1. Devonta Smith actually was ahead of Sutton in almost every statistical category outside of targets and outside of routes because the Eagles were so run heavy. So like I said, if you wanted to go Sutton, I'm not going to fault you for it. I've drafted a lot of Sutton. One thing that's very interesting, and you can do this with the player comparison for free on flogfantasy.com, is if you look at the second half of the season for when Bo Nix did take over as the starting quarterback, Courtland Sutton jumps over to, Bo Nix was starting quarterback the entire time, but when Bo Nix had his explosion, Courtland Sutton jumps up to 17.7 points per game and was the wide receiver 13 during that time period. So you definitely have a valid argument for Sutton. Like I said, I'm not going to fault anybody at all for taking Sutton over Devonta Smith. Smith has kind of been my guy this offseason because I think that there are a multitude of ways that he can actually improve a ton. Greasy Potato says, on the Flock website, are the 2025 rankings half PPR or full PPR? They are going to be full PPR. However, if you pull up those draft guide cheat sheets that we've posted, there you can actually look at the rankings for your half PPR league. David Montgomery goes, we are just going to be taking 2 wide receivers here at the 6-7 turn regardless. Like when we start Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, no matter what, we are playing catch up at receiver. You can make a very valid argument that Deebo Samuel shouldn't be the wide receiver that we take here because we need to be taking wide receivers where their quarterbacks are going to be options for us later on. And then with Deebo, very similar to Devonta Smith, we do already have Jalen Hurts off the board, so the stacking options should be limited. Egbuka flies up to pick 74 here. Ricky Pearsall versus Myers, both quarterbacks will be available for us later. I'd be a little more excited to take Purdy, and Ricky Pearsall just got off the PUP as well. So positive news for him. We think that he is going to be in a very good offense, a much better offense than the Raiders. And a big thing that we are trying to do this year, especially in half PPR formats, will be taking wide receivers in good offenses. Okay. Let's move this. Andrew says, is there a cheat sheet for Superflex leagues? No, but that will be added on within the next 2 days. We're still working on the Superflex cheat sheets. Full transparency, I'm not going to have 50 total one quarterback draft cheat sheets and then 50 more Superflex. Like Superflex is going to be a little bit more general. We are going to just have my Superflex rankings for 10 teams and 12 teams. Probably not going to do much more than that. We're not going to narrow it down to PPR, half PPR, non-PPR, et cetera, the way that we did with the one quarterback leagues. Okay. We have Patrick Mahomes at 82. Rockout says, does Kmet have any value with the Loveland injury? I would not draft Kmet personally. Alonzo says, do we still have to be on desktop to load our teams on flogfantasy.com? If you wanted to initially load your ESPN league, you will have to use a desktop for that on the initial load in the initial sync, because I'm assuming that you'll be in a private ESPN league. So we need to actually be able to grab some cookies to load it up. But after you load it initially, then you should be able to do it on mobile. And if you're on Sleeper, you should be able to link your Sleeper team with flogfantasy.com on mobile right away. Okay. Let's move this over. Josh Downs goes 88. We would have been excited to get Josh Downs on the way back at 94. But it is crazy to see Egbuka going at 74 and Godwin down at 83 in this draft. Like, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if you actually do have these ADPs flip. Let me pull up on our draft guide cheat sheets real quick, like an example of how I would rank somebody like Igbokwe, because my ranking on him is so much higher than where his ADP is currently on these platforms. So like, let's pull this up. Kyler Murray goes. So we are just going to continue to take receivers. I'm going to take Darnell Mooney here at pick 94. I completely understand that this is a faller given the shoulder injury, but I want to be taking this dude regardless. Okay. So here's like an example. In Yahoo drafts, Igbokwe currently has an ADP of pick 141. I have a ranking of him at 91. The average consensus ADP is 111. So our big board value of Igbokwe is actually 114. I don't want you taking him at 91, but you should still be aggressively targeting him in your regular redraft league. Like, we use the ADP of the platform that you're drafting on to average it out with my ranking. That way, if I have somebody ranked like Igbokwe's ranked 140 in Yahoo ADP, I obviously have him ranked way earlier than that. We're going to take Kupp. I don't think we can get Brock Purdy on the way back around if we take Brandon Ayuk here for the Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall double stack. But yeah, so with the draft cheat sheets, a big thing is looking at the sleeper, looking at the ESPN, looking at the Yahoo ADP, averaging it out with my rankings, averaging it out with the consensus ADP rankings across all sites. I manually went in and updated the positional overall rankings dependent on your league settings, because if you play in a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, getting an elite quarterback is a cheat code. Getting an elite tight end is a cheat code, and wide receivers aren't that valuable. Whereas if you play in a league where you can start up to 4 wide receivers, full PPR format, 12-team league, then you probably can't afford an elite quarterback because you have to build out around wide receivers. So we tweaked all those rankings with my personal rankings, average it out with the ADP. And I think it should be the product, end result, whatever you want to call it, that gets you the best 2025 fantasy football draft. So Ethan says, the reason to not take Ayuk to go with Pearsall and Purdy. We weren't going to get Brock Purdy on the way back around in round 10. We knew that. So taking Darnell Mooney, we can still take Michael Penix later and pair up Michael Penix with Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson. Taking Cooper Kupp, we can still get Sam Darnold later. And I do think that Kupp here at pick 99 is still a wide receiver before the tier drop that is going to actually provide us some type of value. So like while we go 3 running backs out the gate with Bijan, Taylor, Josh Jacobs, you would think our wide receiver room is going to be like unbelievably weak. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is a great wide receiver room. But I mean, when we have Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 3, Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 4, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver 5, Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 6, I think for best ball purposes, it's not the worst. Smooth this down. Mark Andrews goes to pick 114. Twerk for Taco Bell says, what's your reasoning for having Igbokwe ranked so much higher than the other experts? Top level prospects, round 1 NFL draft capital, Chris Godwin injury, significantly better player than Jalen McMillan, leads to an immediate role in week 1. And if he can succeed with that immediate role, wouldn't it be surprising to see him continue to crush later in the year? So may we have no New England Patriots, but we can go with a couple different options late, such as Hunter Henry and Kyle Williams. So we're going to do just that. We're going to take Drake May at pick 118. Dylan says, that spreadsheet only for members. Yes, that spreadsheet specifically is going to be behind a paywall on flockfantasy.com. But if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, it will be emailed to the email address that you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with, as long as you made your account and made your first deposit in 2025. Okay. And Lee says, this is the most hype for the preseason I've ever been, just 4 more days. Let me know what y'all think on this. And this could be 100% me just I'm getting too excited and maybe being a little bit irrational. I really wanted Tyler Warren. Oh, dear God. I think we're going to go with David Njoku. Christian Kirk could give us the option of CJ Stroud if he falls back to us. But we're not going to do that for a different reason. Oh, we'll take David Njoku as our first tight end to pick 123. But so this may be something that I'm very irrational with, and maybe I'm just a little too excited. But does it seem like the fantasy football options in drafts this year are so much better than they have used to be? I can't even speak. It seems like every time I'm on the clock, I am excited about a player that I get to draft. Whereas last year, on the flip side of that, half the time I was picking, I was like, oh, this dude's a bomb. Like, I'll take him here because nobody else stands out to me. But this season, it feels a little bit different, where it seems like at every point, there's somebody to be excited about. Let's see. G Play says 100% agree on that within the first 2 rounds. I would say like later round 2, there's some players I'm not that excited about. But like even like later in this draft, I'm like, oh, I get David Njoku at pick 123. Hell yes. Like A-Rod says, other than the Browns, every team has improved. And realistically, what's probably going to happen is we're going to get into week 4, and a lot of these guys that we were excited about are going to disappoint, and we're going to be like, oh my gosh, can you believe we thought Cooper Kupp was going to be viable in Seattle? How did we not know that he was just going to see a massive, massive fall off? Like, that's a possibility, right? Where we get halfway through the season and 30% of these guys that we thought were going to break out or have strong performances turn into absolute flops and duds. But so far, I'm pretty excited about the options that we've had. So let's see. RB1 on the clock. What did they do? They go with Rashad White. Dylan Sampson's been a massive riser here. Realistically, running back is something that we can look at on the way back, but I do think we need to be taking Michael Penix here as our second quarterback. We have Bijan as well as Darnell Mooney, so we've already made a consolidated bet that we have a lot of points scored in Atlanta this year. But running back is now back on the table for us to take our 4th option in the 13th round. Okay. Jaden Blue, Trey Benson, Isaac Grindo, all off. Looking at quarterback, we could take Tua, but we don't have any Dolphins, and we already have an unstacked quarterback. I don't want to be taking 2 unstacked options. We could go Leggett and send up a prayer that we get Bryce Young on the way back around. Joshua Palmer's getting a ton of positive buzz out of Buffalo at the moment. We could go Ray Davis. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pass on the falling value of Ray Davis. I'm going to take Xavier Leggett and again send up that prayer that we get Bryce Young later in this draft. P. Dunk says, where are you happy selecting Nick Chubb right now? So this is a weird spot for me because I showed you on the live stream yesterday that Nick Chubb is already inside my top 5 when it comes to total entry fees in underdog drafts. And he is my number 1 running back. So there's no running back that I've spent more money on than Nick Chubb in best ball drafts this year. So like, I'm expecting Nick Chubb to move up dramatically with the Joe Mixon news. But I feel like I already have my exposure. And y'all know I'm very boring. I'm the first person to admit that I'm an idiot. I get things wrong all the time. So I get very scared to go and invest 30% of my total entry fees into a single player. Like the year we won multiple tournaments, got 16th place in Best Ball Mania. That was a season where I capped my top ownership percentage on any player at 20%. And I still arguably had the best season of any drafter ever on Underdog for season-long contest. So I like to have a balanced portfolio. I draft so many teams that would like Nick Chubb all of a sudden becoming very interesting with the Joe Mixon news. It's like, okay, I'll let other people draft him at a much more expensive price. Now, if his price remains the same, then sure, I'll keep loading up and I'll go heavier and heavier and heavier. But like, I'm comfortable knowing that he's going to be a massive riser, me not drafting him at all and saying I already got my exposure to him. Michael coming out with Adona. Appreciate you, my friend. I will say I already updated my redraft rankings on Nick Chubb. So if you go over to flockfantasy.com, hit sort by Mason Dodd. These are the general rankings. Again, I don't know your exact league settings. So those draft guide cheat sheets are going to be able to help you a lot more than these. I moved Nick Chubb up to my 120th ranked player, my RB40. Like, I moved Chubb up dramatically in a redraft league, because in a redraft league, if he ends up being the starting running back, that's a very exciting play right out the gate. And on the flip side of that, you can comfortably cut him if he turns out to be nothing. We will take Hunter Henry here. Hunter Henry is almost a necessity for us whenever we have Drake May unstacked so far. And we've only taken David Njoku at tight end, right? So we're still a team that needs some tight end production. Geno Smith goes 169. Also, Jerome Ford is a running back that we've moved up aggressively in our redraft rankings. Like, you go ahead and you look at my redraft rankings. I also have Jerome Ford ranked as kind of a must-draft player, especially if you're following those cheat sheets. You'll see that you're going to be drafting Jerome Ford much higher than his ESPN ADP, his Yahoo ADP, his Sleeper ADP, because he's also the perfect redraft pick where you can go ahead and take him. And you may have a starting running back at the beginning of the year. And if you do get Quinshon Judkins coming back, if you do get a Dylan Sampson breakout, then cool, we can cut him in week 3. But you're going to get that clarity early on, and you're going to have to make cuts early on regardless to bring on waiver names. So like Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford in your regular redraft leagues, phenomenal late round picks at running back. Seven Heads says, how many left in the big dog? There are 8 spots open in the $500 draft right now. So like I said, we're going to do a $500 draft every single night. I'm sorry, not every single night. Every single Sunday night until the season starts. So just to make sure everybody knows, put out the word. I know that there are people that watch this because they've correctly identified me as a whale, and they know that I'm clueless and they want to come take my money. You are more than welcome to do it every Sunday night. Okay. Let's move this down. Wan'Dale Robinson off the board at 179. Rico Dowdle goes at 180. Jason says you're going to do another underdog draft after this one. Yes, I have to, because I have to get into another Best Ball Mania draft so I can get that final credit. I've done 5 Best Ball Mania drafts this weekend, and I have to get in at least 6 so I get the $30 back. Okay. Lee says, Terry News, his legs are cooked, and so my team's with him. What I saw with Terry is he's saying that he's on the PUP for an ankle, but it's just a contract, no? Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Terry injury is real. Let me see if I can pull up any additional news, but somebody let me know. Bland says, yeah, he's bag chasing. Yeah, I don't think Terry's actually hurt. So let's move this down. We are only taking running backs and tight ends through the rest of this draft. We're going to take one more tight end, and we're going to take 2 more RBs. Some people would only draft a total of 5 running backs if they had Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Can somebody please let me know what the hell is going on? Like, why is Jonnu Smith falling this much? Every single draft I've been in today, Jonnu's has has fallen like a rock. I'll take Jonnu at pick 190. But this dude has been a consistent faller, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. Okay, now Jalen Royals goes 192. Two running backs that are interesting here for us. Mason Taylor off the board. Y'all know Miles Sanders is my most drafted Cowboys running back. They're essentially saying it's just going to be a committee. If it's a committee, I want the cheapest guy. But Miles Sanders does go, so we're going to take Rashad Smith. Full transparency, I've drafted more Kareem Hunt than I have Smith. So I'm hoping Hunt's the guy. But all the news out of KC right now is like Smith is actually getting some red zone work in training camp. Looks like he is becoming a relevant part of this offense. And he's the rookie with upside. Justice Hill would be an auto pick for us. Marshawn Lloyd would be as well. Do we want to just auto some running backs and then bounce to our next draft? No, we won't. Let's see. Henry says he got Jonnu at the 16-10 today. Yeah, that's exactly where we just took him as well. Maybe I'm an idiot for taking Jonnu here, but overall, the team, I like it. Not going to sit here and tell you it's the best team ever drafted, but I mean, hell, we're trying something new with 3 running backs out the gate in this spot. A quarterback, we have Drake May stacked with Hunter Henry. We have Michael Penix with Darnell Mooney, as well as Bijan Robinson. We have Sam Darnold with Cooper Kupp. Running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Rashad Smith, and we'll take some random round 18 bum at running back. I would have loved to get Justice Hill, but he's gone. Wide receiver, we have DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall, Darnell Mooney, Cooper Kupp, Xavier Legette. And then tight end, we have David Njoku, Hunter Henry, and Jonnu Smith. So we'll see what we get here at running back. Again, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that we just nailed this draft and we just had the best draft ever. I think the most likely outcome if you draft 3 running backs in a row to start your underdog draft is you're probably going to fail. It's probably going to be an ugly team. And Hunter Renfrow goes at pick 205. That is a pick I'd never make. But also, I'm never drafting Jalen Coker. So, I just don't really have much interest in, the 5th option in the Carolina Panthers offense. Okay, let's move this down. So Marshawn Lloyd definitely not guaranteed the running back 2 spot in Green Bay. I do think he's the most likely for it, though. Jarquez Hunter, you do have the receiving upside in Los Angeles. Blake Corum, probably the more traditional Kyron replacement if Kyron were to get injured. Go Kareem Hunt, pair him up with Rashad Smith, and really just short Isaiah Pacheco. Noah Gray goes at the 211. Jarquez Hunter goes 212. This team already has 5 running backs, and they started out with Barkley, so I'd assume that they're going to stop at 5. We'll just take Marshawn Lloyd. I know that some people are adamantly against handcuffing your running backs in best ball tournaments. Well, I agree. I think if you just think of it from a surface level perspective, you cap your ceiling. At the same time, I think it could lead to some unique paths to actually get to the fantasy football playoff tournament with a unique team. So we will take Marshawn Lloyd as our 5th RB. And we will hop in another Best Ball Mania draft. Hopefully we don't have the location issue, and we do not. We are in. Let's say. I know that there are Renfrow reports in training camp, but I'm not about it. Do we even have Hunter Renfrow ranked on Flock Fantasy? Let me see. Renfrow. No, I can't even pull up Hunter Renfrow for y'all. Can I pull him up in the player comparison maybe? I doubt it. I can't even pull up Hunter Renfrow on flockfantasy.com. We took him out of the player pool. When's the last time Hunter Renfrow was relevant? Hunter Renfrow, we had a super strong call to fade him in 2022 that worked out well. The last 2 years, we've had Hunter Renfrow combined for 555 yards and 2 touchdowns. The dude's going to be 29 years old this year. What is the upside? There is none. Like, realistically, I know some people said like Kareem Hunt has no upside around 18. Kareem Hunt has a hell of a lot more upside than Renfrow does. Owen says, when do you think a good week is to start the league's draft? If you're going to do a slow draft, then you probably got to start it a little early. We're going to take Barkley here at 4. I'm going to use the Jefferson hamstring as a tiebreaker, but it's like 50-50 for me. If you're going to do a slow draft, it's going to depend on the timer and how fast your league mates pick. I would say for like a regular fantasy football fast draft, the Flock League, we are doing the draft on August 17th. Or no, we're doing it August 16th. We're doing it the day before the meetup. When's the meetup? The meetup is the 17th. And also, if you wanted to go to the Flock League meetup, completely free, I would love to hang out with you. All the Flock League creators are going to be there. You can see the details right there on the screen. You can pause it. But it's the day before the meetup. So my redraft league is the 16th. However, a big reason it's the 16th is because we're going to record it and obviously put it out on YouTube. If we weren't doing that and I was just a commish, I would probably do it the last week of August. Because in the past, like, the season started closer to 9/11, but it starts earlier this year. Let me pull this up. We're about to get preseason games. Week 1 starts September 4th. So I wouldn't try to push it to the first week of September. I would try to do the last week of August or the week before that, just whenever your league mates are available. Barnes says, what's the very earliest you should have your redraft draft? Say the very earliest is first week of August. Can everybody please spam the chat right now? When is your main redraft league's draft? Let me know. Jason, sadly, I did not run 16 miles today. I did not run a single mile today because sadly I had to work on the draft sheets. I really wanted to get them out because I figured that there was a small chance that there was somebody that had their drafts coming up the next week. We got July 31st. Okay, perfect. Thank God I got the draft sheets out for you, my guy. August 31st, August 30th, Labor Day, 24th, 30th, 31st, 31st, 15th, 28th, September 1st, September 20th, August 16th, August 23rd, 17th, 21st, 30th, 30th, late August, 23rd. So it looks like most people are late August. We're going to go again, back-to-back running back picks with Barkley and Jonathan Taylor. Same thing we did in the last draft, just instead Bijan and Barkley. We did Bijan and Taylor last draft. This one we're doing Barkley and Taylor. Okay, Chase Brown goes. Ideally for us, we are taking a wide receiver at 28. But we may make this back-to-back weird drafts. Harrison off. Do we mix it up? F it. Let's do it. Let's go Josh Jacobs. Let's really try to mix it up here. Okay, sorry, I'm just texting the fan who won the Flock League spot. Hey, Josie says, how do you think I should break the bad news, Little Mason? I liked your clip. Okay, so here's the issue that your clip had, according to the other creators, is if you didn't talk about the other creators, they did not want to vote for you. And you only had Little Mason in there. So you got a decent grade from me with the clip, but the other guys killed you for it. Charles says, what is the other for the ADP draft sheets? Like what site? So if we just put other, because I know some people draft on weird sites like Flea Flicker. I think some people draft on like CBS sites. So how those draft sheets work is we have the consensus ADP, we have my rankings, and then we also take into account the ADP for the platform that you were drafting on, which we are tracking Yahoo, ESPN, and Sleeper. But if you were drafting in like on a weird platform like Flea Flicker, where the ADP is not going to impact you because like your other league mates aren't going to be looking at the 80. Let me rephrase that. The ADP is not going to impact you if you're drafting in person because your league mates aren't going to be looking at an ADP list. And that's what you want to use the other for. And also, if you're drafting on like Flea Flicker, I don't want to be giving you an ESPN draft sheet where it's taking into account ESPN ADP, because clearly the ESPN ADP is going to have no impact whatsoever on how your league mates draft, because the list that they're going to be looking at is completely different. But at the same time, I didn't want to make 100 draft sheets and also track down all the ADP for sites like Flea Flicker, CBS, et cetera, like the smaller fantasy sites that I don't think really many people play on. So we just did the big ones, and then we did the other ones that didn't take into account any platform's ADP. Okay. Let's see. Xavier Worthy off the board at pick 41. Let's move this down so I mean very clearly everybody knows what we're doing in this draft. We are about to play catch up at wide receiver. Get ready to see wide receiver off the board, just like we did in the last one. Okay, RB1 off. Mario says, why do you prefer Ladd over Tyreek? Let's pull up the range of outcomes tool with Ladd just so you can see how strong of a rookie season he had. This is going to be crazy, but we're going to take Rice. And we are going to try to have the weirdest and most risky team in Best Ball Mania. But at the same time, it's a $25 buy-in where we're trying to win $2 million. So I would not recommend anybody to do this. Most likely our team's going to end up being garbage, but we will see together. So let me look at Ladd's rookie season and let's see who it historically comps to. So the closest rookie seasons that we have to Ladd McConkey since the year 2008 are Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Tank Dell, and Brian Thomas. And every wide receiver outside of Keenan Allen and Tank Dell averaged at least 14 points per game the following season. And almost every wide receiver here improved upon their points per game outside of like Evans, Keenan, and Dell. And Dell got injured. I don't think you can really include him. So Ladd already averaged 15 points per game last season. The expectation should be that he continues to get better as time goes on, as we've historically seen with the math. And again, based off the closest age 28 seasons that we have since the year 2000, the closest rookie seasons that we have since the year 2008, really the baseline expectation from a points per game perspective is 14 points, which I think is a lot higher than the floor that you're going to get with like a Tyreek pick. Sir Bob, this is not the $500 draft. The $500 draft, we are currently sitting in the lobby of the big dog. There are 7 slots open in that draft. So hopefully we can fill that, and we'll immediately put the $700 draft on the screen once we do. Okay. Coop says, show the winning audition video. The winning audition video will be shown on the Flock League channel with all the top videos. Like the top 10 videos will be shown. Okay. Travis Hunter off the board at pick 57. So I know some people are worried that if you look at the snap counts for Travis Hunter playing on defense versus offense in training camp, he has slightly been used more on the defense side of things. P Dunk says, when are the flock drafts getting on Underdog? So Underdog Fantasy is going to add the flock drafts at the beginning of August. And there'll be 3 flock tournaments a week, which we'll do. Which is another reason I kind of have to get in these Best Ball Mania drafts is once Underdog adds the flock drafts in here, we are going to Be doing flock drafts 3 nights a week rather than Best Ball Mania, which the buy-in for the flock league, I'm sorry, not the flock league, but the flock tournaments on Underdog will be $10. Okay, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson goes. Caleb Johnson's been a massive riser in these drafts. Good for us because very clearly we are going to need help at wide receiver. Like, get these guys like Caleb Johnson, Trevion Henderson off our board, because if we see Trevion Henderson make it to us at 69, I'm going to be very upset about our decision to pass on JSN for Josh Jacobs. Juwan Jennings goes 65. So Joe Mixon, big time follower with the injury news. Let's see if he ends up going at 69. And that would be to us. Wink, wink. Jerry Jeudy off at 67. Jordan Addison goes. Freaking sucks. We're kind of stuck into taking a receiver here regardless. I almost just want to reach on Stephon Diggs, which we're going to do. I think Diggs will be in a better offense than Jacoby Myers. And at the same time with Stephon Diggs, we do have the ability to go with Drake May later in this draft. So pretty big reach, but it is what it is. We're going to have to go wide receiver here kind of regardless. A-Rod says Mixon's been going in the 80s to 90s now. Like I showed y'all yesterday, I mean, I'm very much overweight Nick Chubb and underweight Joe Mixon. But if Joe Mixon starts going in the 80s in my drafts, I will start taking a ridiculous amount of Joe Mixon. Jacoby Myers off 73. Godwin goes 74. We are going to take Ricky Pearsall. This will open the door for us to also get Brock Purdy. So now running back, we have Barkley, Taylor, Jacobs. Wide receiver, we have Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, and Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall also is off the PEP at this point. So Jason says, coming from a pro like you, I almost see you never reach anybody. Why? I just reached 7 picks past ADP to get Stephon Diggs. So never is a strong word. And also, if I never reached on anyone, I would never have anybody in 20% of my drafts and then also not have other people in only 1%. If I never reached anybody, realistically, I'd be a lot closer to just having everybody in 8% of my drafts. Okay. So Tony Pollard off the board at 80. Matthew Golden goes 81. Loop says, loving Team 6 until he went Jaden Reed. Team 6 sitting with Gibbs, Ladd, McBride, James Cook, Waddle, Judy. For me, I prefer Matthew Golden over Jaden Reed, but I like their team structurally for sure. And they box out the Harrison team, so they should be able to get Kyler as well. Diego says, what's the worst offseason news you've received for someone you had high exposures to? Back when I first started drafting on Underdog, if y'all remember, this was 2021. I didn't really draft any Underdog tournaments. In 2021, I mainly just did like sit and go private draft style drafts with people on the live stream. But we went super heavy in on drafting both Cam Akers and Travis Etienne. And both of them went out for the season before the year even started. We haven't had something like that happen in a while, though, so we've gotten lucky there. Okay. The dog is spazzing. Let me call her in. Come on, pretty girl. Come on. I know you're a scaredy cat, aren't you? Okay. Brian Robinson goes 89. Baker Mayfield off the board at 90. So Mahomes is in play for us given the fact that we have Rice, but at the same time, we really do need to continue to just hammer in these wide receivers. Now, when we're looking at the receivers in this range, somebody that's kind of going to be off our board due to the fact that we drafted Rashee Rice and we shouldn't have Rice at the beginning of the season, I think it would be reckless for us to also take Brandon Ayuk. So even though we have Ricky Pearsall and we would like to pair up Pearsall with Brock Purdy in the following round, I think it will just be a safer play for us to take Patrick Mahomes, stack him up with Rice, have him as our QB1. And we're for sure going to be looking at a wide receiver on the way back around. If we can get one, the awkward spot is going to be like, okay, what happens if Kupp goes, Keon Coleman goes, and all of a sudden we can't take Brandon Ayuk because our wide receiver one's Rashee Rice. We need points at the beginning of the season. Do we then decide to opt to go with tight end like Kelsey to get him stacked with Mahomes? So I don't know exactly what we're going to do here. I think that it's a little bit shaky. Now we can at least guarantee us Kupp or Keon. And the question, would we go Kelsey over Keon to get the pairing with Mahomes? What's more important? Where we think Kelsey probably outscores Keon Coleman and we get him as a stack. But with that being said, our wide receiver room so weak where we have Rice, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, and Ricky Pearsall. To look at what's going to make it back to us at wide receiver, it's so shaky. I don't want to do this, but we are going to roll the dice. You only live once. We'll take Travis Kelce, and we'll go in on this Chiefs offense. I just think realistically, the expectation should be that you have Travis Kelce outscoring Keon Coleman this season. So I understand that we need wide receiver points more than we need tight end points for sure. But in general, I just kind of want the most points I possibly can get. So we'll run with them here. And this is super shaky. Like this is maybe one of the worst wide receiver rooms that we've had all offseason through the first 9 rounds. And the shaky thing about this is if you're like on ESPN, Yahoo Sleeper, you're going to be able to get some wide receiver values in rounds 10, 11, 12. However, we're getting to a range in this draft where they're just not going to be available to us. So we'll see what happens. Probably the end result is this is a garbage squad, but let's swing for the fences. JTL wanted the Purdy Ricky Pearsall stack. I wouldn't fault anybody at all for taking Brock Purdy there, pick 100. If you go Mahomes Purdy there, obviously you only have to draft 2 quarterbacks, which would be nice. KSM Liv says, is the best auction strategy letting the value fall to you? Auctions are so difficult that it is extremely difficult to give generic auction advice for everybody to use. Like, if we're looking at... Stop it. If we're looking at auction drafts that are like 10-team leagues where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, your budget should be wildly different as opposed to like a 12-team league where you start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. Like the amount that you're going to be spending on players is like way more different than like the different sheets that we got y'all for your snake draft rankings. Like where we made adjustments there due to your league settings. But it still all kind of looks like the same stuff, right? Just the positions are going to go in slightly different spots. See, Loveland goes 111. Justin Fields goes at 112. Diego says, do you think the sprint's going to fill only at 23% right now? I'm going to max the sprint personally. I advanced 41 teams in the sprint last year. Like, I think I advanced more teams in the sprint than anybody else on Underdog did. Now, with that being said, it obviously is not on pace to fill, but if we get to August, what typically happens is people will start to try to chase those overlays and they will run it up and fill it quickly. Okay, Tucker Craft off the board 115. McCarthy goes. I will take Shaheed. I understand that a lot of people would just go ahead and take Drake May here to pair with Stephon Diggs. And Shaheed's a player that in a regular redraft league, no interest. Like, how the hell are you ever going to figure out when to start him? Too bad of an offense. Doesn't have the season-long upside to really move the needle. However, in a best ball draft, he's pretty much guaranteed to be in 2 wide receiver sets at this point. And if he's in 2 wide receiver sets, we should have some usable weeks. And what we need right now is usable weeks at wide receiver. Assuming that Rice gets hit with a suspension early in the year, which is the most likely outcome, like our only wide receivers for the beginning of the season so far, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, and Ricky Pearsall. So we are still starving for wide receivers. Let's move this down. We're going to take Drake May as plan A, Rashad Bateman as plan B. Marvin Mims goes, so we'll take Drake May, pair up Drake May with Stephon Diggs, and we are now done drafting quarterbacks because we're going to need the extra spot for a receiver. So running back, we have Barkley, Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver, we have Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Shaheed. Quarterback, we have Mahomes and Drake May. Tight end, we have Kelsey. Our stacks are Mahomes double stacked with Rice and Kelsey, and Drake May stacked up with Stephon Diggs. And that $500 draft just had another person join, so we have 6 open spots in the $500 draft if anybody wants to join. Okay, Hollywood off the board at 128. Hollywood would have been a perfect pick for us at 141, but very unlikely that he falls that far post Rashee Rice news. Go Hornet says, is Ginty at the 108 too early for a full PPR league? I think in the vast majority of those league sheets that we put out, Ginty is not at the 108 for us. I think he's later than that in almost all of them. Can't guarantee that because, again, some of them are very different. Like, for example, like if you play in a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I ranked Jamar Chase as like the 104. Maybe even the 105. Like we just had running back out the gate. So maybe in a league like that where we just push up the running backs dramatically to abuse the league settings, you can get Ginty up that high, but I don't know. So Dallas Goedert off the board 134. Let's move this down. So this is the issue with our squad. We need wide receivers. Look at this landscape. Out of the top, like 15 players, according to ADP, there's 1 wide receiver. We're not going to take a quarterback here. We know that for sure. Just because we need to dedicate the extra slots to the receiver position. And realistically, I'm probably going to take 3 tight ends, to be honest with you. Also, just in case you didn't see, Jake Ferguson did sign a contract today. Some pretty good guaranteed money, and I'd expect Ferguson to probably be rising. Michael Penix goes 137. We took him 142 in the last draft to pair with Bijan and Mooney. Ray Davis goes 138. Spears 139. I would have taken Spears if he made it to us. I already have a lot of Spears, so to see him that fall is a little discouraging. Let's see what this team's doing. Yeah, I just was assuming that team was going to go running back, given the fact that their top 3 RBs at that point were Chuba, Aaron Jones, Tracy. Them going Najee for sure helps us, as we can get Kyle Williams, the falling value at wide receiver, the position that we need the most. And at the same time, we've already taken Drake May and Stephon Diggs. Okay, Isaac Granda goes 144. And Kyle Pitts getting a bunch of steam at the moment. Get off. I mean, we are up to 6 wide receivers here. I'm for sure we don't have the best group of 6 wide receivers. We're going to take more of them. But I think we can possibly go with the running back at 148. Rashad White off the board. I have barely drafted any Byshell Tootin. If y'all remember, there was a time this offseason when Byshell Tootin was getting drafted ahead of Travis Etienne. Go back and look at our ranking that our video we put out 2 months ago showing our least drafted running backs at that point. Byshell Tootin was in my bottom 5 exposures for RBs. People were losing their minds. You do have a decent amount of positive buzz for Tank Bigsby at the moment. But I think Byshell Tootin pick 148 when Travis Etienne goes at 95 is a lot better of a pick now than it used to be. So we'll take him as our RB4. I think the wide receivers here at pick 148 are similar to the wide receivers we'd see in the next few rounds. Okay, Cam Ward goes 154. It'd be great for us to get as many quarterbacks off as possible. So let me see real quick. How many spots are available in the $500 draft? We're still at 6. So now quarterback, we have Mahomes double stacked with Rice and Kelsey. We have May double stacked with Diggs and Kyle Williams. Running back, we have Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Byshell Tootin. Wide receiver, we have Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Shaheed, Kyle Williams. And this is something I never do, but there is a valid argument to be made to only take 4 running backs. For us to not draft another running back here. Travis Snow says there are only 5 spots available in that draft now. So 5 spots available in the $500 draft. We've started this live stream. There were 11. So it looks like that bad boy may actually get filled. So Jalen McMillan goes 160. And we are not taking another quarterback. We're just running back, receiver, tight end. I'm definitely going to be taking 3 tight ends here, which is what's making me think that we possibly only take 4 RBs. Our running backs do all have separate bye weeks, which is beneficial if we are going to go with a slim 4. Frank says, it's arguably the best team I've seen you draft all year. Don't choke this. Well, thank you, but I think we've had some better ones. Hopefully. So Geno Smith goes 164. We will take Hunter Henry as our second tight ends, especially if we're going to go with the slim 2 quarterbacks. I mean, really the only way this team wins Best Ball Mania is if Drake May is the second coming. So only 3 spots left in the $500 big dog draft. So it looks like that thing may actually get filled. Yeah, 3 slots open. So what we're going to do if it's not filled by the time we end this draft is we will kill some time by starting a mock draft on flockfantasy.com. Sam Darnold goes, I think we can take Brenton Strange. Do we want to go Wandale instead? We're going to go Brenton Strange. Go Strange as our third tight end, and we'll call it a day at tight end. And I think for this reason, with us passing on wide receivers in these rounds, we are going to have to go with 9 receivers. And preferably the receivers that we're going to go with in the coming rounds will give us some usable weeks at the beginning of the season. As I think our team has a crazy amount of upside in weeks 15, 16, 17. Because like we can, if we survive the Rashee Rice suspension, which is a big if, we'll see how long he's out for. Rashee Rice is a capable wide receiver 1 in the playoffs. Devonta Smith, capable wide receiver 2. Diggs, capable wide receiver 3. Pearsall, capable wide receiver 4. Shaheed, capable wide receiver 5. Kyle Williams, capable wide receiver 6. Are we super strong? No. But we're not incredibly weak. The issue is, at the beginning of the season, for this team to advance, Rashee Rice is a 0. So then Devonta Smith, wide receiver 1, super shaky. Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 2, super shaky. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 3, super shaky. Shaheed, wide receiver 4, super shaky. Kyle Williams, wide receiver 5, super shaky. So I would like to get some wide receiver production that we think can help us early in the year, but we'll see. Vincent says, when does the $40 deal for the draft sheets come out? So the flockfantasy.com season pass, where you'll get access to all the draft sheets, all the draft guides from all the other creators as well, all the tools on the sites, and all the weekly rankings throughout the entire season. That is not going to be $40. Usually it's $97, but we've never done this before, by the way. Like, this is, I know most people say like, oh, big deal, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same deal every year. We've never done anything like this. We're going to drop a $34 season pass if you use code FLOCK on maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. But I'll let y'all know in the live stream for sure. And I'm sure we'll obviously be promoting it in videos as well. But it'll probably come out tomorrow. Josh says, why 3 tight ends with Kelsey? Because Kelsey's not the same player that he once was. Let's move this back. Anthony Richardson off the board. Great for us. If we were to go with another player other than a receiver, it would be a running back. But that's a big if. Michael Wilson goes. Michael Wilson would have been perfect for this team. Deonta Thornton goes 168. We will take Keenan Allen, where Keenan does give us the path to an early season role, where we're getting the reports of him drawing a bunch of interest from a bunch of different teams, and he's essentially just trying to figure out what situation is going to be best for him. Tutu Atwell goes 191. Mason Taylor 192. Trav Snow says, how do I pay full price? You can always join as an annual Mother Flocker. Full transparency, so the annual Mother Flocker membership with code FLOCK on the site gets you also a team review from me, plus a trade question voucher, plus a start sit question voucher. The $34 season pass, you're not going to get a team review voucher, but you will get start set question vouchers and trade question vouchers. We're going to take Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton has a good shot to be in 2 wide receiver sets, which in your regular redraft league is kind of irrelevant with how bad the receiver and the offense is. But here, any usable weeks we can get, I'll take. So now running back, we have Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Byshell Tuden. Wide receiver, we have Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Shaheed, Kyle Williams, Keenan Allen, Darius Slayton. And tight end, we have Kelsey, Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange. So what we could look to do is we could draft a team for the crazy scenario that Rashee Rice doesn't see a 6-game, 8-game suspension. We could draft this team for the scenario that Rashee Rice only gets suspended for 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Not saying that's going to happen. It's probably unlikely, but it's also unlikely we turn $25 into $2 million. So if we were going to draft a team for that kind of scenario, what we would probably do is we probably wouldn't take another receiver here and we would just swing on a running back. Now, with that in mind, we may need to cover our butts regardless. Let me check. There are 2 spots open in that $500 draft. So after this, we'll probably get in a draft on flockfantasy.com. So Jalen Coker goes pick 205. I probably wouldn't have taken Coker. So Roman Wilson goes 208. Oh, and that $500 draft just filled. So we're actually not going to get in a draft on flockfantasy.com. We are just going to be moving over to the $500 draft right now. And it's filled. Let's see who we're going to take. I know who we want. Woody Marks goes. We're going to take Tyler Lockett here pretty easily. Given the injury to Treylon Burks, I think that this is just a wide receiver that's going to get used early in the year, and we need to cover up for Rashee Rice. So, hyper fragile build. We've done very, very few of them this year, but I think this is maybe the scenario where it made sense. Let's move this over. Thank God we get pick 6. Let's see if Jefferson ends up falling. And if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm going to be doing a $500 draft every Sunday night until the season starts. So make sure you go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be able to come out to these live streams while we are live, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. And Jahmyr Gibbs off the board as the running back 1. Lord Jon Snow, always in drafts with us, goes with Bijan. Okay. McCaffrey goes 4. Barkley goes 5. Running back heavy room here. We will take Jefferson at 6. I understand some people are making an argument to go Lamb over Jefferson now that you have the mild hamstring injury. But I think taking Jefferson at 6, and then if we get a value falling to us at pick 19, it can lead to us building a unique team that nobody else in this tournament's had access to. So we'll take Jefferson. Team at 7 should be pretty excited that they get CeeDee Lamb. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Aaron says, the one hole is a wild one. Yes, I do remember y'all saying that in the last $500 draft that we did, that Renegade is a little bit of a crazy drafter. And he's 6 picks away from us. So we'll keep tabs of what his team looks like. Who Days says drafters in the $500 draft are always wild. It does seem like the $500 drafts typically are a little more wild than the Best Ball Mania drafts. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in this one. Like Derrick Henry going to pick 10 in this one does not happen very often. Okay. Nick says he got Chase Brown at pick 33 today. Seems like with the Zach Moss injury, I would assume that Chase Brown would be getting more expensive, not cheaper. Mike says that he is the Jahmyr Gibbs truther at pick number 2. If it wasn't for the offensive line downgrade this offseason, I think I would be all in with you of Jahmyr Gibbs possibly as RB1. But for me, how I have the top 6 players ranked, it's just dealer's choice. You get your guy. I'm going to try to have even exposure to Chase, Gibbs, Bijan, Barkley, Jefferson, Lamb. Okay, London goes pick 17. Lad off at 16. Smooth this down. So this is going to guarantee us one of AJ Brown, Brock Bowers. I'll just take whoever falls, to be honest with you. Team right in front of us took CeeDee Lamb, who we passed on in the previous round. What are you doing here, brother? They go AJ Brown. We will take Brock Bowers. Bowers, Jefferson's not the most unique combo. Like, definitely getting AJ Brown there would have been a little more interesting, but also some of our favorite tight end values are more expensive now than they used to be. Like, if y'all remember when we went on the Underdog Fantasy YouTube channel and pitched our 5 favorite values in drafts, we had like George Kittle as one of our favorites at the 4 or 5 turn. Well, now George Kittle goes at the 3-4 turn. We had Tyler Warren as like my most drafted player at that point, or maybe second most drafted player behind Quentin Johnston. And since then, he's risen about around an ADP. So I think the profile hasn't really changed with Bowers whatsoever, but I think some of our favorite valued tight ends later have gotten more expensive. JSN off the board at pick 25. And this is definitely a draft where we're going to have a lot more flexibility than the last one, right? Or the one prior. Like, it's fun in the $25 BBM streets to just go ahead and mix things up. Go with a robust RB start. In here, maybe stay a little more flexible. What's going to suck, of course, is if we get Trey McBride falling to us at 30. And don't get it twisted. There is no world in which you can or you are allowed to go with Brock Bowers and Trey McBride on the same squad unless it's tight end premium. We're there. You can make a strong argument, of course, that the tight end position is a great flex play. So we will take the elite quarterback instead with Lamar Jackson, and the team right behind us getting the falling value of Trey McBride. The team at 7 is one of the best teams I've ever seen in a $500 draft this season. Like Lamb, AJ Brown, Trey McBride is a beautiful start. I really like our start as well with Jefferson, Bowers, and Lamar, but I would definitely prefer the Lamb, AJ Brown, and McBride team. John says you definitely can and should take Bowers and McBride on the same team. Hard disagreement there. I mean, we've been saying this for years and years and years. You go back to the time period where I know some people are making an argument, oh, you should take Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski at the 1-2 turn. Realistically, in these best ball drafts, you take Bowers and McBride on the same team, they're eligible for one spot in your lineup, and that's flex. And if you have to lock in your round 3 pick into the flex spot every single week, taking that away from a potential running back spike or a potential wide receiver spike, it just doesn't make sense. So I would adamantly disagree that you want to be taking the 2 elite tight ends together. Now, if you wanted to get weird with it and go like Bowers, and then back when like Kittle would go in round 5, then sure, go with that. But tight end in rounds 2 and 3, you cannot do. Just structurally, given the nature of your starting lineup with your flex versus your 3 wide receiver spots you need to fill, it just doesn't make much sense in my opinion. Jalen Hurts off the board. We are going to take DJ. Do we want DJ Moore? Yeah, we'll take Moore. He's the one wide receiver here that's not guaranteed to make it back to us in the 5th. And the guy that I would rather have straight up over DJ Moore actually could possibly make it to us at 54. But we'll keep our lips sealed for now. Cortland Sutton goes 44. George Pickens goes 45. So that team at 4 is in a similar predicament that we found ourselves in with the 2 prior drafts here. And that was just having to play catch up at wide receiver no matter what happens over the coming rounds. But I will say for sure, the team at 7 is my favorite team in this draft. The team at 7 going Lamb, AJ Brown, McBride, Jalen Hurts is beautiful. So Joe Burrow goes 48. Okay, Rob says, was Rice the hesitation there? No, I was not considering Rashee Rice at 43. This is a smaller field contest. Like, you don't need to chase the same super high ceiling for weeks 15 through 17 that you need to do in Best Ball Mania. Like in BBM, it's $25 buy-in with $2 million for first. Here, this is a $500 buy-in, $200,000 for first. But how you advance is weeks 1 through 14, you have to be a top 2 team with total points scored in the draft pool that you went with. Week 15, you have to only go up against 5 other people. Week 16, only 5 other people. Week 17, only 9 other people. So a big thing that I'm looking for is how can I not just optimize for the most points possible in weeks 15 through 17, but also how can I make sure I give myself a floor to actually advance? And we will take Chuba Hubbard as our first running back off the board in the 5th. If this was like a Best Ball Mania draft where I'm going to have to go through and like beat hundreds of thousands of other drafters to turn that $25 into $2 million, then sure, maybe you go with Zay Flowers and you get the Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers stack, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, here I want to give us a better floor with our median projection. And I think getting Chuba Hubbard with just the projectable volume here at 54 over Zay Flowers when we don't have a running back yet through the first 4 rounds is probably the move. Okay. Ross Kretz says Calvin Ridley's ADP is so nice. Didn't he get 1,000 yards last year? I'll pull up Calvin Ridley in the player comparison and look at him next to the guys that he's drafted alongside. So Ridley's drafted alongside Waddle, Flowers, and then Travis Hunter. But we have yet to see a Travis Hunter season. So none of these wide receivers were viable fantasy options last year. Like Calvin Ridley was 32nd in the NFL in yards per game. Jalen Waddle was 46th in the NFL in yards per game. Zay Flowers was 28th. Maybe if you want to look at it like from a total yardage perspective, yes, Calvin Ridley technically got 1,000 receiving yards, but being 32nd in the NFL in yards per game is not something that you can like be jumping up and down with joy about. And I will say, just as like a general rule of thumb, I'm not saying Calvin Ridley's a bad pick at all. Not for 1 second am I saying that. But I just do want to reference, like, if you ever hear somebody make an argument of like, oh, this player had 1,000 yards, therefore he's a good pick, and they're not taking into account sample sizes and looking at per game numbers, they're more likely than not just trying to spin a narrative and not giving you the best analysis, in my opinion. So I'm not telling you that like, oh, you can't draft Calvin Ridley for reasons X, Y, and Z. But I do think like it is very misleading to say, oh, he had 1,000 receiving yards, therefore he's good. It's like, well, the dude played 17 weeks realistically. We're going to take Juwan Jennings. If you look at the draft sheets, it's hilarious to see how cheap the dude is in Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo drafts in comparison to our rankings and where he goes in Underdog drafts. But I'm not telling you can't draft Ridley. This is more about like definitely be looking at things from a per game perspective rather than just a cumulative total statistics, because those could be very skewed. Okay. So now wide receiver, we have Jefferson, DJ Moore, Juwan Jennings. Running back, we have Hubbard. We have the elite quarterback with Lamar, and we have Bowers at tight end as well. So Stephon Diggs goes pick 71. Baker Mayfield 72. So that team at pick 1 just going out there and getting their guys. Like having an unstacked Baker here. What would have been maybe interesting is if you wanted to go Baker, taking like Baker and then on the way back going with Godwin rather than Joe Mixon. But let's move this down. Matthew Golden off the board at 74. I don't want to say too much until we're on the clock. Obviously, there's a lot at stake here. Or Jon Snow goes with Pacheco. Pacheco's been getting a decent amount of steam as of late. Khalil Shakir goes 76. So we are just going to be locked in, loaded into taking a running back. I mean, we are currently sitting with Chuba Hubbard as our only RB. So we'll take Montgomery. I think if you have a Gibbs injury, Montgomery immediately projects out as a top 6 running back in fantasy. But even if Jahmyr Gibbs stays healthy, Montgomery gives you usable weeks in best ball. So we will take Montgomery as our running back 2. We have an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, an okay wide receiver room, and a bad running back room. But hopefully we can get another running back value in the coming rounds. Dylan says Pearsall should be a riser, to be honest. Yeah, I think we took Ricky Pearsall in the past 2 drafts. I know that he was off the PUP today. And then obviously with Jennings, you do have the concerns, particularly surrounding the contract. Okay. Laporte goes pick 82. John says Vegas is Montgomery to score 10 plus touchdowns at minus 120. Let me see what his pick and projection is on Underdog. Tony Pollard goes 84. Let's look at Montgomery. Montgomery, Underdog, has higher, lower 9.5 rushing touchdowns. And that's even money as well. They have Montgomery higher, lower 724.5 rushing yards. Chris Godwin goes pick 86. So Godwin, the big time faller. You will see the players dealing with injuries such as Godwin and Ayuk fall a lot further in $500 drafts than regular Underdog drafts, which honestly they should, because again, I'm more so drafting for median projections here in the $500 draft, where in your smaller like $3 Underdog draft or $5 Underdog draft, you should be just shooting for the highest ceiling you can possibly get, which includes taking some of those injured guys. Let's see what Samantha Picks does. Kyler goes pick 89. Josh Downs off the board. I think we may go Pittman. I think Hawkinson's a solid pick, but we already have Brock Bowers. Tank Bigsby getting a lot of steam in Jacksonville at the moment in regards to Travis Etienne. Jordan Mason, a crazy high price tag in general. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to run a lot of routes. I think he will give us usable weeks in best ball. And your regular redraft league, maybe a little bit less exciting. But these high floor wide receivers can make decent plays. Okay. Let's see. Bo Nix off the board at 92. TJ Hawkinson goes 93. Okay, Kelsey goes 95. That team did not have Mahomes. I mean, we took in the last draft, I want to say, Mahomes at 93 and then Kelsey at pick 100. Here, Mahomes goes 80 and 95. Let's see, Jalen Warren. KSM. People are saying that Team 7 fumbled. So Team 7's going to have a massive issue surrounding running back with only Trevion Henderson so far through the first 8 rounds. But they have an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, one of the best wide receiver rooms in this draft. So it'll just come down to if they can find running back values, which looks like there are going to be a couple that make it to him right here. Spam the chat. Would you rather draft Jordan Mason or Travis Etienne? These are very clearly the only 2 running backs I'm looking at. Would you rather have Jordan Mason or Travis Etienne? Spam the chat. Okay. Looks like we have kind of split. I think most people... It's very close. I think most people may be saying Mason. I will use the Tank Bigsby news as a tiebreaker here. I know some people are excited about the Jordan Mason potential short yardage role, specifically at the goal line. Obviously, the Vikings invest significantly into the offensive line this offseason. Jordan Mason's another one of these names. If you go back and look at those cheat sheets that we put out on the site, depending on the platform that you're drafting on, you can probably get Jordan Mason a lot cheaper than where he goes in Underdog drafts. Let me pull this up. And dear God, we've already had 700 people access the draft guide cheat sheets. Like I said, if you use code FLOCK on the Underdog in 2025 and made a $10 deposit, these will get emailed to you very soon. I just want to add the Superflex ones before we email them out to y'all. And also I need to do some different additional cosmetic tweaks with the sheets. But let me see if I can just see real quick, ESPN. Jordan Mason has an ADP on ESPN of 121. My ranking on him is 100. The consensus ADP is 101. Okay, but let's not just go through all that real quick. Let's move this back to the board. So Travis Etienne does go immediately after we take Jordan Mason to the team at 7. Bagel says, hey, Mason, do you play pickleball? Yes, sir, I play pickleball. Sal and I play pickleball a decent amount. And if Sal ever live streams, ask him who's better at pickleball. I'm pretty much a pickleball pro. I do have a slight advantage of the fact that I play tennis. So Okay. Mark Andrews off the board at 110. Quinshon Judkins, 112. I have a ridiculous amount of Judkins. Like, I kind of like Judkins going here just so I don't have to stress about it. Hollywood, 113. This team obviously needs a running back. They only have Trevin Henderson and Travis Etienne, so I'd expect a Charbonnet pick. They go with Tajee Spears. I think this opens the door for us to go with Trey Harris. We're still going to need to look for another quarterback option for us later. And a lot of our quarterbacks have already gone off as the potential options with our wide receivers. But taking Trey Harris here now gives us the optionality to go with both McCarthy as well as Justin Herbert in the following round. Y'all know I drafted so little Trey Harris, but he's a lot cheaper than he used to be. Obviously, my most drafted wide receiver is Quentin Taunt. I mean, the big Q. We're not even going to say his name. But he's a lot more expensive than he used to be. So we will see. Ronald says, do you play in a pickle park? I play pickleball at South Austin Rec Center. If anybody wants to pull up. I'll probably not be able to play as much now that the season's getting here, but it's typically where we're playing. We could also roll the dice that we get one of these quarterbacks making it back to us if we have a decent value fall. May take another one of these players I've drafted none of at all. Javonte goes 124. Do I go McCarthy or Luther Burden? Quarterbacks later. We're just going to get stuck with Geno if we don't go McCarthy here. Let's make sure no same buy. Nope, they don't. We'll take J.J. McCarthy as our second quarterback. Pair him up with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Mason, and we'll pass on Luther Burden. Obviously injured. I was already much, much lower on Luther Burden than the market. Let me pull up my exposures of Burden. But we have DJ Moore, so it was interesting to consider him at 126 and see if we could have had a quarterback faller for us later. I have officially drafted 300 drafts for the NFL 2025 season section. I've also drafted teams in the marathon and the eliminators, so I've actually drafted closer to about 400 total underdog drafts so far this year. But searching the 300 team sample, I'm pretty much underweight all Bears wide receivers. The only Bear that I'm overweight on is Loveland. Okay, Tyler Algier goes 134. So after we take McCarthy to pair up with Lamar, I am for sure going to be done drafting quarterbacks. So it'd be nice for us to see as many quarterbacks off the board as possible. But the next guy that we would probably expect to go would be Michael Penix, and I don't know when that will be. Let's see. Michael says, how does team number 7 not advance from this draft? Team number 7's great, but they also have Trevin Henderson, Travis Etienne, Tajee Spears, and Byshell Tootin at running back. So if Bigsby's the guy in Jacksonville, they may just have no running back points at all. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to talk down on their team. I think they have a very, very good team. But to act like they're a guaranteed lock to advance out of this is a stretch. And now they go tank Bigsby. So they're going to spend 3 of their running back slots on Jags. I think that... y'all know I hate Marvin Mims. I'm not taking Mims in a $500 draft. I like the tight ends here a lot, but we also already have Brock Bowers. And if we're not going to do it for the culture, what are we even here for? We're going to take Quentin Johnston, pair him up with Trey Harris. Maybe this is the team we draft for the scenario that Ladd McConkey goes down. Maybe this is the team that we draft for the scenario that Justin Herbert sees a massive, massive uptick in passing volume. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's crazy to draft Quentin Johnston over Marvin Mims. If you go back to the beginning of this offseason, these guys went 4 rounds apart from each other. We were calling one the best pick on the board, the other the worst pick on the board. And you know what's really cool that we can do? Both wide receivers have spent 2 years in the NFL. One was a round 2 pick, one was a round 1 pick. But even besides their NFL draft capital, do you just want to compare these wide receivers next to each other from this past year? Marvin Mims played 27% of the snaps, Quentin Johnson 72%. Marvin Mims, 3 targets per game, Quentin Johnson 6. Marvin Mims, a 9.7% team target share, Quentin Johnston 21%. I know it's crazy that Marvin Mims was drafted 4 rounds ahead of Quentin Johnston early in the offseason for us to take the big Q straight up ahead of him. Okay, now you're going to give me him at 150, and I'm still going to pass on him. We're going to take Dallas Goedert instead. Smart people maybe go Isaiah Likely to get the stack with Lamar Jackson in a larger field contest. I'd probably just do that. But here I think the Lamar stack matters a little bit less. I'm going to take the player that I think outscores him. So, again, Marvin Mims used to go 4 rounds ahead of Quentin Johnston. It was the craziest thing ever. I think people are waking up to that fact. And Marvin Mims makes it all the way down to pick 154 in this draft, which this is a very respectable range for Marvin Mims to be going in. I would not dog on people for taking this dude at all if this is where he's been drafted all offseason. I think that this, honestly, you can make an argument that, look at Marvin Mims at pick 154 after Demario Douglas, 2.7 yards per route run. He showed some talent at the end of the year. What if they use him more? You can make that argument at this price point. The issue is where this dude used to go. He had to be a difference-making player. Ronald says Team 7 slowly killing a start. We'll look at Team 7 a little more depth soon. They just fell behind at running back in a big-time way. And we have some pretty big tight end followers. Obviously, Isaiah Likely at pick 163 with an ADP of 144 when we have Lamar Jackson at quarterback is very appealing. But when you have Brock Bowers and Dallas Goedert, you just simply cannot draft another tight end no matter how much you may or may not be tempted. So let's see. Samantha Pax goes Jalen Wright. Pat Bryant off the board. McMillan a riser with the Godwin injury stuff. Jack Bash, the round 2 NFL draft capital. Jerome Ford looks to be a starter at the beginning of the year. We are going to take the guy with the round 2 capital. We're going to take Jack Bash. We are already making a consolidated bet on the Raiders passing offense by taking Brock Bowers. We can double down on that here. I know not many people at all are going to be interested with Jack Bash. I've drafted him very little because, again, going back to where he was drafted early in this offseason, his talent profile lines up a lot more with Jacoby Myers in comparison to what this offense is actually needing, which is that vertical field stretcher. So it isn't the biggest surprise that Thornton's getting the okay. I'm sorry, I got a text from the guy that we just offered the spot in the Flock League for. Crap. He has to fly out of Canada, so the flight's going to be expensive. That sucks. But anyway, I think Jack Bash at this price point is reasonable. I understand the camp news hasn't been great. But in a weak wide receiver class, he had an interesting profile. And we are getting him at a reasonable price point. So looking at the team right after us, this is the team that had the absolute dream start, right? You go Lamb, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Jalen Hurts. They take Trevion Henderson here at running back because they kind of get sniped with all these RBs. James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard going right ahead of them. They go Rome Odunze, which I would have done here as well. Their issue is the Egbuka pick. The Egbuka pick was just garbage. What they should have done is they should have taken Aaron Jones. They should have taken Tony Pollard. They should have just got some projectable running back volume. That way they didn't have to go through this range taking Travis Etienne, Tajay Spears, Byshell Tootin, Tank Bigsby, Jaden Blue. I think 99% of their draft, super strong. I understand that Egbuka may be a solid pick there with the Godwin injury stuff. But I don't know if you can afford to pass on a running back at that point when you're in round 7 and the only running back you drafted so far is Trevion Henderson. We'll take Roschon and we'll send up a prayer that he has a role in Chicago. And maybe worst case scenario, he's the RB2. And also, I could just be very biased here. Hook 'em horns. So now, quarterback, we have Lamar Jackson unstacked. We have McCarthy double stacked up with Jefferson. And I guess you maybe can make an argument for Jordan Mason. We have the elite tight end with Bowers. We also have Dallas Goedert. So we have an elite tight end room. We have an elite quarterback room. Everywhere else is weak, though. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, wide receiver 1, DJ Moore, wide receiver 2, Juwan Jennings, wide receiver 3, Pittman, wide receiver 4, Trey Harris, wide receiver 5, Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 6, Jack Besh, wide receiver 7. Running back, we have Chuba Hubbard, RB1, David Montgomery, RB2, Jordan Mason, RB3, and Roschon Johnson, RB4. So we're definitely going to take 6 running backs with this team. I think running back and wide receiver are going to be our biggest issue. So we'll take 2 more running backs, and we're going to take another receiver. Jalen McMillan is a big time faller. We're at pick 181 or 182 now, and he is still available. Let's move this over. And Reese says, Mason, have you considered doing 2 drafts at the same time? Could be fun. Realistically, like, if I was just going to sit here and only draft, I actually do multiple drafts at the same time. The issue with me doing that in live streaming is I got a lot more going on than just this draft when I stream. Okay, Michael Wilson goes 184. I'd have liked Michael Wilson as our 8th receiver here. But we can pivot, no problem. What is Samantha Pax doing? I think they've taken it down to the last second with every pick. They go Jonnu Smith, Kyle Monangai. I don't even know if I said that correctly. Absolutely no usage as a receiver in college. Something important to note there. We will take Rico Dowdle, and we will just give ourselves some type of security with the Carolina Panthers running back touches. And it's going to be super fun for this team to see Trevor Etienne end up being the guy this year. So now our running back room. Ronald says, how do you know Jennings owns a baby calf? I know we got a lot of people talking about Jennings' calf in here. And so I didn't know the dude was a rancher. Okay. Okay, Brashad Smith goes 194. DJ Giddens off the board. We are running back and receiver. A wide receiver, we're sitting with 2 rookie receivers. I think we could definitely bring in another rookie if we wanted. Running back's just so damn weak with this team. Yoshi Bosch goes 197. I kind of like just getting the usable weeks of Justice Hill. Justice Hill is like perfect example. I would never care about him in a regular fantasy football league. There's no upside. Even if Derrick Henry were to get injured, like you're not expecting Justice Hill to all of a sudden see 20 touches a game. His role's kind of locked in. But with that being said, best ball, we should be able to get some usable weeks. This will limit zeros at the running back position for us. And you will get a couple random spike weeks as well for Justice Hill. So perfect guy for a best ball draft at the very end. Kind of a crappy pick in a regular redraft league just because, like, when would you ever put him in your starting lineup? I have no idea. But we could possibly see him slide in. Michael coming out with his 20th donation to the live stream. I really appreciate you, my friend. But let's move this over. I like the team. Am I going to sit here and say it's the best team we've ever drafted? No. Am I embarrassed by it? No. I wish we had a better running back room, but Chuba Hubbard, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, Roshan, Rico Dowdle, Justice Hill, probably get by with it. The way that this team turns $500 into $200,000 is if Jahmyr Gibbs gets injured, because then Montgomery immediately turns into an RB1, and we're crushing at tight end. We're crushing at quarterback. We got a pretty good wide receiver room as well. But assuming that we just get the median projection with Montgomery and he doesn't surprise to the upside in a big, big time way, then that's a little less exciting. Ronald says he's embarrassed for Team 7. Team 7 went Jalen Royals after us. Yeah, Team 7 is. If they would have just taken the easy pick of like Aaron Jones or Tony Pollard instead of Igbuka, I think they could have been much better off. Daniel Jones goes 209. I'll take Jalen Knowles, wide receiver 8, as our last pick. I mean, you get the draft capital. Yeah, you are behind Christian Kirk on the depth chart. But do we think Christian Kirk is some elite wide receiver that's never going to be beaten out at this point? Probably not. So we'll just go ahead and lock him in. And I want to remind everybody, I know I've already annoyed y'all enough with this, but let me do it one more time, that I went ahead and posted these draft sheets for y'all to use on the site already. So if you go over to flockfantasy.com and you go to the recent post section on the sidebar, if you are a paid member of the site, you should be able to see the 2025 Flock draft sheets. Full transparency, this isn't the large PDF that we've done in years past where it's more of like a research piece. This is very specific for you to take to your draft and to use in your draft. And there are 50 different sheets for your exact league settings. So please don't try to use all 50. You're only going to need one of them. So just go ahead, use the directory, find your exact league with your exact league settings. There are a couple other instructions here if you can't find your exact settings on how to get the next best thing to it or the next closest. But we already have about 50 pages in the directory right now, 50 different options for y'all. And I'm currently working on, and I'm going to get out, hopefully in the coming days, I'm going to work on it right after this live stream, a couple Superflex versions for y'all for 10 and 12 team leagues as well. But the other thing with that, of course, if you're not already a paid member of flockfantasy.com, we're about to have like a crazy offer that we've never done before for a season pass for $34. Hopefully that'll be out tomorrow or the next day. I will let y'all know when that is. Or obviously, if you used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and made a $10 deposit, you will get a email sent to you to the email address you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with. And I'm probably going to send that email out after we add the Superflex stuff, and that sheet's going to get updated every single week. So probably every Sunday, I'll take the 6 hours or whatever, and I'll go through and update all the sheets for y'all. So be on the lookout for your email. If you signed up to Underdog, use promo code FLOCK and made a $10 deposit, all in 2025. And then with the updates that we're going to put out on the site, like the added Superflex sheets, and then the added sheets as we go through the year with injuries, with ADP changes, et cetera, that'll just be immediately posted on the site with the same exact thing. You'll just go to the same place that you always get it, and it'll be updated there. We'll probably do one big update a week because, like I said, it's going to be like 6 to 8 hours every time I have to update this thing. But I think that's all I got. One last thing. If y'all wanted to get in like a free mock draft, if you're not in a state where you can do underdog drafts, full transparency, underdog drafts definitely going to be a lot more fun. We do have the public 2025 mock draft lobbies posted on flockfantasy.com. So you can always go hop in a PPR, non-PPR, half PPR, mock draft, whatever you're wanting. It's on the side for you. This is completely free. And yeah, hopefully it helps you get some practice for your main redraft league, because definitely want y'all to do well. Griffith says, show the dog. Hey, come here, girlie. Come here. What are you doing? The dog's down there sleeping. Let me see if I can move over. She She looks stiff as a board, but she's alive, I swear. But appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us. And I really hope you get to see you out in the live